Except for the operating funds.
That's the clarity that we've arrived at now.
So
That we operating funds have to go through the same process.
Yes,
All the funds.
these are government funds,
And it's not part of the budget, don't we go present our budget?
which
to-
is interesting as well. You're absolutely right. Three BACs with that.
Yeah,
That's very interesting.
so, but when we present that budget to the mayor and they approve it, then we still have to go through every single, even though they've approved the budget and what the budget is for, we still have to go back and they can, which prevents us from really being proactive about work, because to your point, they could say no to anything, so.
They have ultimate authority.
Right, which I get, but I think that was that's been the confusing part for my orientation. I'm like, well, they've already approved the budget up to X amount for these very specific projects. So then what's the point of that process if we have to kind of go back and have it done?
but we're not going back and asking for, well, we want to spend $1,300 on some signage. But we don't have to go through the mayor and commission process to spend $1,300 on
I think they're
signage.
saying you do.
That's what they're saying in everybody's.
And so purchase order, so I'm very confused.
So it's approved that you can have $2,500 in your budget to do a website. But then when you're ready to do that website, you still have to go back and have it approved by them again, at which point they could say no. So I'm sure you can imagine that sort of makes us all feel like, well,
So
that's a lot of time.
here's what I recommend that we move your budget into leisure services. Therefore, that's actually going to give you more flexibility.
Yeah, I'm like, well, where are those recommendations that we can move along with it kind of quick? I mean, because if y'all are the ultimate authority anyway, so tell us what you're planning. to
Yeah,
do
exactly.
So that we can start
This is
figuring
it,
out
right?
what's in the new day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is what you want. Why are we even talking?
Clarify our language, it's never been our money, it's always the government's money.
Right.
We all our commissions, but our commissions.
We're the commission. We have a line item. And they're wanting now to take the ACAC budget and put it under leisure services, which I believe has happened with other organizations. Martin Luther King Service and things like that. So just say that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are we talking about?
And
So-
how does it talk about the way would like below it
But leisure services does have more autonomy than spending funds. Can, if you want to articulate how it also.
That's why he's there.
Yeah. So I mean, that, the first thing in legal services is, and I was explaining, it would come under arts administration, which would be under Stephanie's purview. And much like any expenditures within our budget, they just go through a process that if it's under a certain value, Stephanie has an authority to improve it, or even Tatiana, if it gets above a certain value, then
Yeah,
it
what's
comes
this
past
value?
the for some type of approval.
Right.
Um,
What is this
But-
amount?
the full indication would be that these funds are earmarked for this purpose based on recommendations to come from this file. It would not be something that we think, we would be sitting here saying, well, we think this is where these funds should go, so we'll make that decision. I can assure you that's not how it operated at all. It would strictly be, as Nikki says, give you all more flexibility as a commission to make those recommendations, and they come forward through Tatiana and Stephanie before they're expended.
So then, for example, if we need, like, something we talked about in the outreach activities, having a booth at Athens for competition, so something like, be like a $250 expense, this is an example. Something like that, could be like, reasonably, I don't know what you're talking
Yeah.
about, but something like that, reasonably, we could work with staff on, and it wouldn't have to go.
Exactly.
That sounds.
If it stayed as it is now, what I would recommend that you need to do, and we do this with some capital funding now, at the beginning of each fiscal year, we submit to the mayor and commission by way of agenda item, a plan for spending that money this next year, because what you submit back in, I mean, I know that's what your budget proposal does, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes what you put together in December and January can change by the time September, October, November rolls around, because new priorities sometimes come up. So we submitted an agenda item in our capital funds that say for this upcoming fiscal year, here's all the projects in their approximate value. and mayor and commissioner sign off on that. That would be a similar process you all need to do if the funds stay in an independent account like they are now. Moving to leisure services, as Manager Jones is saying, gives you a lot more flexibility should priorities or different things come up through that fiscal year. You can work with staff on it.
So when does that?
So, doesn't that just change the nature of the commission in the sense that right now we are reporting directly to the mayor and the commission, but with this scenario, we would be reporting to the leisure services.
There's really not a reporting hierarchy.
Well, but there's because we have to go before the mayor to make a pitch for the budgets, right?
Well, are you talking about the independent agency, which is really, it shouldn't be that way, and I'm wondering if not all boards, authorities, and divisions operate that way. And I, to be honest with you, I'm trying to do research on it, being a new guy, looking at the history, no one can tell me why. I'm just shooting.
You're playing catch up.
I'm just shooting, okay? So it's just not a best practice. So no one's losing power. Actually, you guys are probably more nimble. At the end of the day, if you all want to give out grant awards to artists, you still can do that. You still go through the solicitation process. You still evaluate, you still make recommendations. There's an additional step. That's what it boils down to. There's one additional step, and that goes to the notification.
Well, you would no longer have to defend your budget each year in front of the mayor and commission because your budget's now part of these services. So it's rolled into that. And independently as a body, you wouldn't have to go defend your budget.
But then again, who are we gonna report it to? My question is not about power. I mean, God knows we have zero power, so we're not fighting for that. But in terms of clarity, in terms of the chain of command, now, instead of reporting directly to the mayor and commission, we're gonna be reporting.
No,
to the
because the bylaws aren't changing, ordinances are changing. Just the process of refunding is changing.
You're still making recommendations and being an advisory board to the meeting.
You're still advising the mayor and commission. It was like, we would be just being your bank, so to speak. So right, when you ask for a check, we write a check for you. You would just tell us.
Now, is that the way the Greenway Commission is gonna be handled then, or what?
The Green Lake Commission's different.
Speak to all.
Let me get something before the agreement. Sorry. So let's divorce operations funds from the capital funds, okay? So the operations funds become more nimble, okay? That's, you guys need some statements or stickers or whatever, that falls under the spending threshold. That's operational dollars and that's at the top down. Okay. But when it comes to the capital stuff, let's use, for example, the art on community centers that you guys just voted on, right? So for us, that means there's one extra step. You guys voted on that total amount. I'm working on an agenda item that will go through the cycle, which is not dissimilar from SPOS projects and everything, how everything else works, right? So I just want to, it sounded like there might be a little bit of those two kind of mechanics together. That's in terms of operations separate from capital, separate from all your SPOS stuff.
But our community awards have been done through our operating budget, not capital.
Okay.
So that now also requires a contracting
And then it
process.
gets to the thresholds. So even, I can't even go use my P card for more than, $24.99.
$2,499.
Yeah, $2,499.
But just to be clear, around art and community awards that you're referring to, there is still new things around that, like around the placement of the work, the longevity of the work that we have still, that have been added into what can be asked for those calls.
And we did get a brief on that, and I think it was January. I think it was January. We did report that on that, and it was like.
The timing of it is where I'm, yeah.
And I think the awards keep coming up, because that's the thing that has been kicked continuously for the past few years, because there has just never been, it's just not enough time, and it's not the right time, and there's not enough time, so then that's multiple years after this, like, really exciting, but pretty complicated, and like labor intensive, obviously, time of the 50 awards, that was, that became an issue, and I think that's why we're asking questions around the awards specifically, because that's most powerful lever we have to, to change the community better through art, but specifically because of the budget level, to derivatives on certain local artists, which is a huge priority for our community. So anyway, that's just where all the passion and questions are coming from.
Those are great questions. Look, I'm not taking it personal at all, just keep asking.
And so what needs to happen from our standpoint is we do put our commission operation funds under leadership. What is that? Is that a vote? Is that this policy?
That's through budget, and honestly, I don't know if that's gonna happen. That would just be like, for me, it makes things so much easier. What do I want? That's right. That's what I was saying. It's like, all right, I didn't come here with a preconceived notion. I'm saying,
When I heard you say that, it seemed like a solution to everything, and I'm like, why not just leave with that possibility? And so that's where I got a little confused and a little like, okay, so we don't know that that is something.
It just would be nice to have a little bit more of a dialogue rather than having city staff figure it out in a vacuum over here and then come back and have this kind of conversation and we're all in the dark. I mean,
And the
can't we have a way
stuff.
to like work together and find a constructive solution and then come here?
So, the answer is yes. What I guess maybe I'm confused, is I don't think there's that much of a difference in what how you guys are operating today. How I think there should be operating. It's just one additional step that goes to the mayor commission. That's, maybe I'm missing something.
Well, we've got a game plan for, again, for our own community centers, again. If you guys take action tonight to support frequency, replacing that out of the capital, we'll do an agenda item, push that forward, get that out. And then also, we can do a agenda item, that has any of these other commitments that you guys have made this fiscal year, trying to, again, get them across the finish line. Those are my three, like, let's move forward with how can we accomplish goals you guys have had this FY, and get that knocked out. At the same time, we're trying to work on this training.
Can I ask a question about the website? And that's about something like paying the web designers, what's the status of that? What ended up happening? Were we supposed to cut a check at some point or?
So I'm not sure where we made a payment to the company. I spoke with them and asked them to hold off on the further work while we write. So y'all will vote that you want to spend funds on that. And then y'all will vote on that. We will take that from the minutes. We will add that to the agenda and we will put that through so mayor and commission can vote. So that's what we can do, like sort of omnibus spending. This is all the things you want to spend the rest of your FY money on for this year, including.
The spending. We've already.
This time you're gonna vote for it and we're gonna take that collective amounts and be like, this is all the things they wanna buy. And then we'll take that to the mayor and commission, they will vote on it. And then after that is approved, then we can proceed with the pledge, with actually spending the money and we will figure out how to spend that money. Like,
So is there a contract with the website and stuff?
did you sign? I didn't sign.
It was a purchase order.
A purchase order.
It was under 10,000, so it was done through Leisure Services. Facilitated that purchase order with the vendor.
Who signed?
Probably me. Because it was my understanding that that was something they were empowered to do, is send their operating funds under this amount through the process that was given, so. I signed it.
The full honest payment.
It's fine. We're gonna I just say this is not about, solely or telling folks that you're doing a competition. That's not what it's about. It's about just fixing the process. That's all it is.
We're getting a hard reset. Turn it on and turn it on.
That's exactly what it is.
And so I have a question too. So you're gonna go to the mayor and commission with this long list of expenditures. And they're gonna say, what's?
I'm not saying hold on, I'm saying, yeah, I'm gonna vote it on.
We voted on something else for the website or.
Yeah, so if once you guys vote on that, look, this gets us square. Just as everything that's still voted on, but unencumbered at this point, let's get square, let's take care of that. And then-
Yes, but sorry, I'm sorry, but so what did we do last month? We voted, there is minutes that we, like,
What is
you know, like, nothing is gonna change. Why we need to vote again? And then every month it's really happening, the same thing. We've been asking the same thing month by month. And now, okay, let's vote everything that we already voted last month, like
Which is there?
46 minutes. What are we talking about? Like,
If you need to kind of round it on last month.
Yeah, I'm not asking you guys to relook on that. We're just writing the agenda item taking forward. I wasn't here for that vote on the first time. but
So
it is-
anything else that you have outstanding, like whatever is the balance of the work from the website and whatever amount y'all want to approve or suspend on frequency?
And so with.
But frequency is capital.
Right, so you guys vote on it.
We voted on that option
We
one.
voted.
Yes.
Well, because we didn't know how much it was.
Yeah, so I guess you guys vote on up to 15, and then we can write the agenda item and push it back.
We actually just, there's too many moving parts with it and we still have too many unknowns. We did not get all the data, so we don't have an exact dollar amount, but it will be, but you can vote up to 15
Yeah.
and it
To
will.
accomplish this mission.
and by the way, this is happening every single time. Like every single time we are talking about one project, we don't know an amount. We don't know like, hey, there is a gate. Do we want to do it? Yeah, but how much is it? Because what are we talking about? These are public money. So we need to, before voting, we would like to have someone who is giving us enough details that for us, it makes sense to really feel like, okay, we are voting on something that makes sense financially. And no,
And I ask
always,
for clarification, you said you're voting on something, you don't know full details or the cost.
we have ideas of budget around, what was the last, I don't know, the minutes, the last, let's give an example, because I think we should talk about this.
We have a project list that has the budgets on them, so
Yeah, you mentioned the gates, but the gates had a very.
they have a budget.
Number.
You are adding money to that budget, just more than the base amount that you have for art. So it's not that you didn't know what the budget is. We know what the budget is for all of these projects.
No, what I'm saying,
That's usually flexible is the material costs. And that's generally where we say up to, and sometimes we don't know the maintenance costs. Because that's why it's generally up to, and we're never gonna know that until it comes time to make those purchases and things like that. I don't think it's a lack of specificity. I think, you know, from what Manager Jones is saying, it's really about the process. And that's where we're getting really bogged down. And so to bring as much clarity to the process as possible in writing, proper training, hopefully moved up on the list of training, like Victoria said, would be extremely helpful. Because we are one of the only commissions and boards that have a budget. We're public facing, like when they didn't like frequency, they're like, who's responsible for this? You know? We have ideas about outreach that we want to do, you know, that committee is formed, and we want to inform people about how their money is being spent.
And we do have, it's open to have new board members
Yeah.
joining us and they're gonna have a whole new group of people
Yeah.
who have absolutely no idea what they're doing, so.
It's kind of-
And there are 3 different pots of money, is that correct?
3, yes.
That could be some of the confusion as well, that
Mhm.
3 different pots of money are effectively, the process is a little bit different. I don't know.
Well, the capital funding seems a lot more straightforward because you know, we're doing RFPs and
Right.
soliciting proposals, and then we make the recommendation that gets approved. That to me, that seems to function fairly smoothly. What doesn't function fairly smoothly is the operating funds, and that has been a hiccup for a long time.
And so the capital fund is your budget.
Well, no, I mean, our capital funds, but we still,
Operating funds will become just, I think, as smooth and easy if we can make that transition we'll no longer have to take a list to mayor and commissioner, here's how we want to spend our operating funds. Like right now, we need to do that, and the next commission vote will be maybe the first Tuesday in May. So that means in the month of May and the month of June, you spend whatever plans you send forward to mayor and commissioner. Because the fiscal year running out in June 30th. But through the department, with us being a stepping into the bank or the holding of those funds, we don't have to take those plans. You take them one time, and that's when we go as a department to defend our budget at the manager's level in January each year. And other than that, they don't have to go back for mayor commission. So that entire 12-month period, you have flexibility in how you spend those as long as they're meeting the mission of what you intend to do. And other authority approval is not needed beyond the department.
And somebody has to build the levels, just real quick, so 2,499 is still a 3-bid. And it's a lookup find. Okay, 1,000 less is a key card, and 2,499 is still, for clarification on this number.
Does that make sense? So, what I was saying is if you're spending that amount of funds, you gotta go out and do 3 bids.
That's just, and that, we have to follow the same, again,
But-
procurement policy, right? That's.
I just want to make sure that the new commissioners coming on hear that kind of data, because I think there's been a lot, and maybe this is not the appropriate time to talk about this, but there's just been a lot of culture shift with this group, right? They had a long time chair who had a very different personality. Helen has stepped in as interim for a few months. I'm supposed to step in. There's been a lot of shifting, and I think, and then we've had kind of, candidly, a little bit of a mass exodus because people who've been around for a long time feel more disempowered with these changes. I don't feel that way. I just want to know, what are the rules?
Yes.
Where does the money go? Who makes those decisions? And then how do we welcome, orient, and onboard new commissioners as we go through this culture shift? I think we all want to do, I don't think you're finding power dynamic, whatever that, I don't think anybody here has always said it's an advisory committee. I don't think there's any of that. I think we just want to know if it's 1,000 to 24, like you just said it right then, and I wrote it down, but I'm like, who tells the new people that? How do we make sure that where's that written, and who do we go to, and how do we make sure that stays part of our conversation and understanding and clarity as we kind of shift cultures from where we've been to where we are?
That's all.
None of us have a P card.
No, that's.
No, we're not just like that.
Yes. How you would like those $500.
Right.
No, and I'll say too, and Nick's right, it is staff's role. And I have to take a lot, as a director of these services, I take a lot of responsibility for this because there's been a lot of turnover both in staff, on our end, and I've been that one constant that just has not gotten myself engaged in these operations, and I apologize right in front for that. So staff should have taken a stronger role in leading some of this effort. But now that we're at this point where we are now, we're at a new jumping off point, we can help clarify that going forward. And we'll be glad to work with you for that.
So the big difference, it seems like, instead of somebody from ACAC going to defend the budget in January or whenever, it's really now it's leader services who does that.
We handle all of that.
Is
And
what you're
if
suggesting.
you're wanting an increase each year, then it's a matter of bringing it forward. We talked to and Stephanie saying, we got something new we would like to do and to propose. Then we build that into our budget request. Now, it doesn't mean sometimes it's accepted, sometimes it's not. No different than if we as a department ask for new funding for something. Sometimes it's accepted, sometimes it's not. But we would build that into our budget request. And then when the budget's passed, we're able to say, here is what the funds are for ACAC for the following fiscal year. And then there's no more having to go before mayor and commission for every little item you're wanting to spend those operating funds on. Capital's different, but operating funds, you have that flexibility. Throughout the year, any given priority comes up unexpectedly, it's a matter of communicating that and you all voting on that's how you want to spend it, and we'll have you execute.
Can we do that now?
No, because it's not in our budget, if you're an independent right now, budget.
which again, which is not typical.
So,
But we can, if that is the will, we can 100% try to make it into this year's budget. So in FY 24, July 1st. You're going to research this, you know, you're going to do the normal process, there's one extra step in your commission. And if you're spending X amount of dollars, we would go out and get those 3 bids for you on your behalf. You know, you'd say, hey, Nikki Jones LLC, Alice Brown LLC, Kenneth LLC, we can make those recommendations, right? And then you can pick based on whatever criteria you have, and we'll take that recommendation and move forward.
Did I hear you say that is a best practice to do it that way? I mean, is that what you?
It's our procurement policy.
Yeah,
Yeah, we do it as well.
yeah.
So if it's a refrigerator for, it's $1,100, depending on the price of Home Depot, Lowe's and
Yeah.
Sears, if they're still around.
That makes sense. I don't know. Wow.
We did that for the
Website.
for the website.
Yeah.
It's just that I was understanding the process indifferently and was informed in a different way. We know better now, we have to do it differently now.
And
We did 3, and we did all that, and we met about it, and we followed all of the procurement policy as I understood it at the time.
our, y'all's liaisons have been excellent, following whatever expectations have been put on them at the time.
Right.
So I just, I can't speak to that enough.
That's a lot. A lot of changes. So it seems to me that we have a viable scenario to move forward. But I wonder if we could actually ask you to think about other types of scenarios that we're not able to entertain at the moment, so that we make an informed decision about how to carry on the budget. So if there's another path forward, maybe, that we can think about right now, I think maybe it would be helpful for us to build a further on this. But could we, before Manager Jones leaves, could we take a firm commitment that we will have a written down rights and responsibilities of the commission, as well as the staff, as well as the process,
Yes.
and also exactly the kinds of numbers that have been quoted in terms of the capital and the operating and the source budgets?
That's what that's.
Okay.
And it's definitely actually that one was printed out right now, so we're working, and we'll keep on.
but are you looking for time?
I mean, it's-
Yes.
again, I think we have been asking for this for about a year.
And I feel like we're gonna lose our budget. Well, we're losing fiscal year time.
Once we're done talking, you guys really need to focus on what's been unvoted on, unallocated, make some motions, and let's get that omnibus wrap up the fiscal year agenda item. And Stephanie, I can dive into that.
So, yeah, I think we pretty much voted on everything except for the remaining, it was either 8 or 10, we had talked about, we had all agreed and voted on as a body, that we wanted that to be directed through outreach, and outreach committee was, told not to meet and talk about it because we got the pretty urgent, we stopped spending any money or whatever, so we did not need to talk about that, so we would have to talk about it later. But I have 2 questions, are we talking, do we need to vote on that tonight so that it can get in front of the mayor commission in May, but what do we need to do about the operating budget potential change going from the independent body to the under the services? Does that all need to happen tonight in order to happen on this fiscal year?
Voted on that, and there's a committee start on it. Said it forward.
Or what I heard was, maybe go back.
Maybe come back so that we know exactly what other
I'll
departments.
defer to y'all.
That one isn't necessarily the agenda, I think that's the cycle.
Well,
When is the fiscal year 24 budget supposed to be approved or
May.
finalized?
May. So what I'll do tomorrow is I'll talk to the manager and I'm sure they'll support it, but I need to talk to them first. And that could be an option, right? So what I'm hearing is, are there any other options for us to move forward to be able to move effectively, efficiently, and nimbly as possible? So I'll look into that. So maybe it's the next meeting where I come back to the month and we do April. March.
Our next meeting is in April,
Good job. I'll be in April.
April
Yeah.
10th. It's April 10th.
Not the April. Oh, yeah.
so if we should say say we come back next month, we have other options, we have time to visit in the night. Say we can decide next month in April. Is that, I'm asking, is that still enough time to make this change happen before the end of the fiscal year, or are we gonna do it without? Could we schedule another budget for the next fiscal year?
You'll have, you'll have enough funds.
It's where that budget will land, is that?
Yeah, and I'm worried that, I'm just worried that it's gonna go away for a year until we.
No, that's not, that will not happen.
Or you can direct us right now to do the most simple thing for this board. And I can go find those options and, yeah, time is of the essence.
Would it be possible to have some of the answer before, let's say, 1 week before the meeting? So we read and get some information, and so we get kind of prepared at the meeting so we can vote in April. Would that be possible? Because if we know the information during the meeting, then we need kind of to think and have question and then eventually vote. So
Standpoint to make a recommendation if we're getting the information.
yeah, if we can have it at least one week before, maybe we can kind of.
Or we have to schedule another meeting before our April meeting to have another dialogue like this, if that's suitable for everyone.
I'll be honest, there may be only one path forward, as far as being as nimble as possible, and that may be put it in the user services budget, but I'm really going to look for other options. So I just want to set expectations, right? I'm not going to come back with 5 other options for you.
Thank you all for your time. I'm to do another meeting, and I don't want to slow down.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.
So just to clarify, we can get some information in writing, everybody, so we can.
Related to where the budget is. Yes.
Yeah.
And also our roles and responsibilities of that seminar.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, staff will work on the roles and responsibilities.
And the training.
And the
Thank you.
And also, one more thing, just to clarify, say this new process were before, we would essentially be making, and I'm not saying this is because this is a good thing, the partnership thing and a best practice thing. We would essentially be making proposals to Stephanie and Tatiana, who would say yes or no, and then that would be where, you know, as a co leader services.
We wouldn't say yes or no, nothing. We're not approving, like,
Yeah, that's my question. Yeah, no, that's my question. It's like, what, does that change to?
Their job is 3 to 4.
No, great.
Your design is 4.
we make a recommendation and we just like bring it to the necessary levels to expend the funds so that it's doing the right process. But you don't need our approval. We don't have any like layer of authority. We're not an extra layer from us. We're just like, yeah, like the bank for you.
So like if we said we're gonna do $1,000, we're gonna have a budget of $1,000 for outreach, then we would give you kind of an idea of what we wanted to do for outreach, and then you would present that to mayor.
Well, if it was under operating funds and the money was in the thing, we wouldn't need to go because that amount doesn't, it's under the amount. Like, so we could go out and you wanted to buy posters at Belgian and giveaway things and like we'd sort all that out and just like, you know, use our P cards and like pull that through. So, and there's, you know, that would all just be done through our internal finance process.
And this might be a question for you too as well, but with something like the, Arts Community Award, that would still come out from the, operating budget, or would that?
Yes. We're gonna, we need to have further conversations around that specifically, because that is the one piece that has continually brought so much of these other things to light. And that is a component that we will have to have a deeper conversation with our attorneys and staff and manager's office, because that is complex. And I don't have a definitive answer. I've been trying to get one for a really long time, but I understand that, but that is really comes into that, what is this, the role of this commission is essentially to advise and make recommendations. So how that's interpreted in that, execution is not up to me. So we're gonna have to look at that a little bit closer.
But the community awards, that's something that this commission does, right? It's already part of the culture of what y'all do. So we can still continue to do community awards, but I was just saying we can. I'm not sure community awards, I grant, is best in the operating budget. It probably just needs to be in its own kind of category. But we can figure that out. I can promise you, we won't lose any money, right, in the process. Everything will be the same, it's just we need to figure out a better way to say it. It's bureaucracy, what it is. And then we'll figure that out on our end. You guys want to, right, it's just, we have to figure these stuff out.
We will need some help how we write those calls for our community. That's what we're looking for help with.
From the city attorney's office.
This is hard stuff, I know, believe me. But I'm grateful that you guys are still here at the table with us and that we're gonna invite new people to this table to have these conversations, because it is really important work. And it is a process, it is bureaucracy, but it's also worth it. So, thank you.
Well, and I think you guys are great liaisons, so.
Thank you.
It does.
Thank you. I mean, I just wanted to say that just in this, like,
Thank you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You're pretty good too. And you.
Just in case we need.
All right, well, I think we all understand where we're going next. So thank you very much for coming and helping and listening to us and helping us move forward. Appreciate it. All right. We are going to move on to Leisure Services Staff Report, and we're primarily going to talk about, are we going to talk about frequency or? Okay.
So, we've been talking to a local contractor and
Just a little bit.
we've been talking to our local contractor and our artist and trying to get some estimates about what everything is gonna cost for the replacement. And, we don't have definitive numbers on shipping and install labor. We know what the pieces themselves will cost, so we, Stephanie and I have discussed it and with Splost, and we think that up to 15,000 is probably the best estimate that we can give tonight. So, Stephanie, did you have anything you wanted to?
just that we're doing, I mean, this is a novel scenario, it's never happened before, and so we don't have like a real, this is exactly it. So we're working with the artist to replace the 3 pieces and a local contractor. The artist in the past was responsible for all of this. They brought their people with them from Maryland, and that's not the case this time. They have to, so the works need to be recreated and the cost of the materials and those things. And the local contractor here will install the works.
They'll have to be shipped here.
Yes, so that adds a different, so that's why we can't just be like, oh, we'll do the math and to divide it out from last time, because it's different this time. So we've talked with the artist, we've talked with our local contractor, we feel like it will not cost more than 15,000, so if out of capital, that would be what you need to identify up to an amount and which fund. And then that will be created into an agenda item and go up through the process.
So that would come out of our larger capital fund, correct?
Right.
So in terms of a motion, should that be worded differently than it had been? Does it have to go through this extra layer now, or how does that all?
No, you just vote on it to make the recommendation.
We're just making the recommendation. We're not entering into any contracts tonight.
Not tonight.
Okay, are we ready for a motion? Do we all understand? Any other questions?
Exactly what we talked about last month, right? And we just
Yeah.
have now,
A budget.
yeah, up to budget, and that's what we're doing.
All right.
Yeah, last month it was just the action.
And the 2 other options, yeah. I know that we, approve up to $15,000 out of the capital budget for the recommended repairs to the house.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All right, that was,
That's big.
yeah, okay. That was unanimous. Great.
Yes, oh, okay.
Just want to have a little bit more clarity about the.
You're abstaining. I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Did you catch that, Kimberly?
Yeah.
There was an abstention. Okay, so we're going to move on to the treasurer's report. And as we have heard now, we have to propose a budget for spending the rest of the fiscal year. This is what the city is asking for so that the mayor and commission can approve the rest of our funding this year. So, a small group of us took a stab at this. And Darcy has some numbers to pass around. I think we have some copies so that we can take a look at. We are already on the hook for our website for $8,000. We're already on the hook for the poet laureate for $2,500. So we have to have that funding to follow through with those obligations. We also need some administrative funding for sure, and we've been using $1,500 as a category for that. And then what's the other thing? We also talked about doing signs for the bus stops coming out of the operating funds this year. We voted and approved on 20,000, and we wouldn't be able to cover all of that this fiscal year, and probably not realistic with the time remaining. So we can look at maybe a smaller number of about 10,000. And then the other thing that we had begun and put on hold was creating a video, a public information video. And we were working with Captivate, who's doing our website. And they brought in a videographer group to work with them so they could make sure that the graphics and all the branding and all that was consistent. So it would be nice to follow through with that, if we could. So, let's see, make sure I'm right. If we're looking at the Poet Laureate website, administrative costs, $10,000 for signs and $8,000 for the video.
So those are kind of the gray categories are the proposed, like what I guess we can vote on. So if you look at the proposed budget for the website, we already voted on that in October. And so I feel like, I'm not sure what we're supposed to do if we've already had a vote. I don't know.
We can find out in the minutes and just say this was voted on. So in that report, we'll create a little thing. It's like voted on this date and
it was operating and we didn't specify a fiscal year. So I think we can.
And the same thing with the bus shelters, we voted on spending the 20,000.
Up to.
Yeah, up to 20. So in this proposal right here, it's 15. And again, this is up for vote. This is not anything set in stone. And then the Poet Laureate, we already kind of agreed to that as well. We had the stipend and the outreach. And you can see it, so there's the proposed budget and there's the actual. So we've already paid the 1,000 stipend and there's still 1,500 left for the outreach part.
That was it, including the increase for the books budget, is that right? Or do you know if that was already?
So we just have the 1,500 for the year without,
Okay,
yeah,
I think it was,
without
we
the-
were going to discuss in our outreach meeting.
yes,
And then we
Potentially.
correct. But the 1,500 is what is annual stipend
But
for events, not the.
But aren't we operating with 30,000?
No, we have 47.
Okay. I'm glad you're taking care of the numbers and not me.
At least that's what the budget was when.
Okay.
For the bus shelter, did we have the budget of each sign? Like, do we know what is the budget for?
Plaques, you mean?
Yes,
No, because we need to figure out how much it costs to install them as well.
And there was
Yes.
a variability within, would that have to be outside contract or would that be, like, what's the department, central services? So those could be different prices. So we had basically agreed like up to about 300 per sign. So the 28,000 that we had voted on last month is a little bit more than that per sign, just for some wiggle room in that variability. Does that
So
make sense?
we're just allocating a budget. This isn't the precise number we're gonna spend. This is like an up to, and we will be able to have a significant number of signs installed for that number.
It's all hypothetical,
Okay.
though, right?
It's a what?
Hypothetical, like it's not.
Yeah. Well,
Hypothetical.
it's an estimate. It's a good estimate.
Well, and I think we were trying, because we have to spend this operating funds by the end of June.
Yeah.
So we have, what's remaining is 38,000. So with the bus shelters, with those signs, that was something easy because we don't have to do the install work, but we could at least get those printed. And we wouldn't, lose that money, because if we don't spend that money by the end of June, then it's just gone.
It's that part of the.
Right, so that was kind of what I feel like we were saying before when they were here talking. It's like, we keep getting told, to stop doing what we've started the process of. And so we're not getting anywhere, and our budget just stays the same. So then the next section there was kind of this public information media. Sorry, I made a typo there. You can take out the L, not medial, media. And we had the 8,000 for the video that you said is on hold right now, but it had been started. And then the bus shelter brochure, and then the second one should have been the public art brochure. It was working quickly. The artist talk has already happened, 750, so there's a little bit left in that budget if we want to stick with that. The strategic planning, that was kind of the training component. And I'm not sure if we're gonna have time in the next 2 months to get that done. I would love to, though.
We had talked in the last meeting about tabling discussion of even starting to plan the strategic planning event until after the BAC training, and that we still don't have a deadline on that. So that does not seem likely in this fiscal year. But it's not that much. I've tried to.
No, let's just make sure we understand. This is a budget. This is an up to. If we didn't have a strategic planning meeting, any repercussions, any hand slaps? No? Okay.
That's $1 shot. Yeah.
So it's basically our budget being reapproved. So this is our budget being reauthorized in a different way, in the better way.
So the actual year to date, those are the numbers that have already happened. So obviously we can't adjust those, but everything on the proposed budget and what's remaining, that's what we can kind of work to figure out tonight and vote on.
This is all of our illegal fund purchasing.
I'm sorry, I'm just. What is the type on other two? Or SEO, is that like a?
That's
what
our web hosting,
yeah.
current web
Like
hosting.
SEO, like.
That's just what that's when
Yes,
I
that's the name of the
get
company that hosts our.
this is what I get from, the finance department.
Okay.
And I just copy down what they wrote there. So like, I don't think even you guys maybe make the peak card or whatever.
Yeah, we have it.
But
on
everything
our
else
page.
is-
Yeah, that's the current website.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I just want to clarify the format. So the proposed budget, I can integrate in bold, those adding up to the 45, that is the proposed, what we're going to, what discussion, vote on tonight.
And we can adjust all those numbers if we like, but we cannot adjust the actual year to date.
Right, that,
So we've only spent so far 6,766.81 of our budget this year. And we've got 2 months to spend 38,233.
Are there any other ribbon cutting events or talks that are scheduled for this year? Anything likely to be completed?
No.
Okay, it doesn't hurt to ask for that. I was just thinking if any of these other budgets needed to be increased, especially the poet laureate, because that is something that he has his plan, he has his deadlines. that's only gonna go through, this is wrapping up the poet laureate, right? He's not gonna continue next year.
Correct.
Right,
He's,
okay.
his term is up in August.
Right, so that would be the only item on here for ribbon cutting events and talks, which I guess it kind of naturally has some overlap with the poet laureate, but that would be the only little item there that I would think, like, if we wanted to increase that, to just expand the public impact of that. I know his plan is to purchase books to distribute for free.
Mhm.
That might be something you could shift to the poet laureate line item, if we need to give that specific about it, which I think.
We're going forward with just like broad categories, correct?
I think so.
Okay,
The gray shaded areas.
okay.
It's just for our benefit that the details are included.
I'll ask just a clarifying question for those who've been part of this process much longer. Have we always spent our entire operating budget, or do we normally have some left over?
We rarely do. I mean,
It usually gets spent.
Spent. Seems
And
like this year it won't get spent, would be my guess. Is that fair to say? And is that gonna have implications on us moving forward, or do they look at that? I'm just curious. I mean, I know we don't.
Well,
have
your
all the
budget would
answers.
already be approved in May for the
So
following
they
year.
wouldn't necessarily.
Not to my understanding, but I can't, we're not approving your budget, so I can't say that it
Yeah.
would have an impact. I don't know.
But historically, we've spent the 45 or whatever was approved, and this year.
But we,
well,
We've
you know,
typically not done that.
we typically have been using it on the community award program.
Got it.
And so that has been always that's been our biggest component in our operating budget. So,
It's also, we did change the last year of not being able to meet the, projects for it and the spending for it. Like, there's nothing we can do to give, not the past year, they'll pass like 8 or 9 months. So it's what it is, and we can.
and I
I think
explained
for-
that to the mayor and commission at my presentation for the budget. I said, we had these hurdles for contracting, so, we haven't been able to implement this the way we had envisioned it. And I don't think they had a problem with that because they understood that.
Helpful.
So I guess we will need a vote on this proposed funding authorization for our operating budget.
Sorry, I had one more question. I just want to
Oh.
double check the 15,000 that we had voted. Did I already ask this?
for the community
Those
centers,
are-
that's capital funds.
Capital funds, and then the pedestrian gate is also capital.
Capital.
funds. So those are already moving forward. They will move forward to the recommendation outside of.
In fact,
operating.
the gates are SPOS funds, and they went in front of the SPOS Citizen Oversight Committee and were approved. And then Bishop Park was approved by the mayor and commission. That's in my.
But the gates are still coming from capital funds, right?
Yeah.
Just the extra 15,000 that is added is from SPOS 2011, Project 21. It's that lump sum, that third bucket of money. It's essentially capital funds, but specifically for adding to SPOS budget.
But it should come from the last 2011 budget. So,
Yes.
Like on here.
Yeah,
it's
that
coming-
project.
It's coming out of here.
Correct,
Okay.
correct, yes.
And that is kind of a different category of like that, because I guess that project has already gone before the mayor and commission. They don't have to then approve the additional budget expenditure we're adding to that. And then-
Not right, it has a different committee that approves that budget.
SPLOST is in a parallel universe. All right, so we need a motion. We need a motion. Any motion. Darcy. You
Well,
can
and
make
I feel like we haven't gotten the categories kind of nailed down. So can we look at,
use the shaded category.
yeah, so we have 8,000 for the website. Do we agree, like, we don't have to vote, but do we agree that that's the one? And then we'll do like a big vote at the end?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we have the 15,000 for the signage for the bus shelters. Do we need more discussion on that, or?
I have a question on that. We were moving it down from what we had said last time of up to 20 to, we're moving it down to up to 15. Based on just.
Our
less
budget.
remaining, less
Yeah.
remaining.
And, this is all, we're under the gun to spend this money, so.
Yeah, no worries. I just wanted to just double check that we didn't change any of the allocation.
So then the poet laureate staying at 2,500 with the stipend and the outreach. And then the public information media, so we have the video for 8,000, and then the bus shelter brochure, and then the public art brochure, and that's the creation of it and the printing of it. So, which those are all things that I feel like can happen in the next 2 months. That,
Could be.
do you agree?
It'd be easier than the signs.
Yeah. But if we don't do the signs, then like, do we need to allocate that 15,000 to something else?
I think
If we
we
don't
just
think
keep
we can
it,
get
I
it.
think we keep it broad. And this is giving us the authority to spend these things. We don't have to.
Okay. The ribbon cutting, keeping it 1,800. Mine, well, it's really 10,000, 1,050 right now, because we've already spent 750. Or because we have that strategic planning component, do we want to jump that up to ribbon cutting and events? Because that would be something like for the,
We know that
The table happens.
we know that the retreat cannot happen in this fiscal year.
right,
And I would think that that money would be better moved under ribbon cutting or poet laureate, whatever, however you want to, whatever category that needs to go under. That's really the only already planned activation we have for the year that we can make an impact with through this money that it could be achieved in this fiscal year.
Can we put the strategic planning back up under bus shelters? As opposed to, like, if we had it at 20,000 going down to 17, as opposed to down a whole 5,000.
well, I'm just worried because again, like, that's gonna be,
If we don't get it, then it's fine.
yeah,
I actually would go with Madeline's suggestion that put the strategic planning under the poet laureate, increase the stipend by another $1,000 and the outreach by another $1,000.
okay, that's
So then it's going to
I don't think we can.
Well, we
change
can't
the
change his
stipend.
stipend because that's his contract. Thank you, Madeline. But we can do the outreach, yeah, and just do like buy more books or buy more posters or
Where
whatever
that
funding,
makes
yeah.
more-
we could probably just loop it all into.
Put it all
the
into ribbon cutting and
And then we
events.
have some leeway.
Yes,
Right.
I
Yeah, so
would,
then
I
that's a
would.
good point, Jen just noted, if we move the 2,000 into that just bigger bucket of ribbon cutting, we can allocate either towards the poet laureate event or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
That's outreach.
But you can do that in this FY, even though it happens in the next FY. Well, no, it happens in this FY, sorry, yeah, sorry.
I think
Okay.
All right,
just
I would
increase
like to
that
see
to 3,800 for the ribbon cutting.
okay. There's like a little bit of money left over in case we need more paper clips. And then, web hosting, so, everybody?
I move that we authorize funding for this operating budget as submitted by, Trump. Does it have to be more-
Is there a,
With the changes.
that's good,
With the changes.
that's good. Second,
Second.
any more discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor? Unanimous. All right, we can go spend some money now. Soon. Thank you so much for sticking around. Good job, Darcy. Thank you so much for keeping us.
No.
It's okay. We're getting it. We're getting it. We're gonna move on to our project reports. Take it away, Tatiana.
Hello, everyone. So some project updates. Our two Firefly public art pieces were approved by Mayor and Commission in this last meeting. So they approved both of those. That's the trailhead piece and the intersection. So those were both approved. So we get to move forward with the contracting with those artists. The Bishop Park site and type were also approved by Mayor and Commission in that meeting. So those are going to move forward to the call drafting. That will probably be later this summer. We have a few things ahead of that. And the other Big thing is, of course, the arena calls are out now. That deadline is April 7th. I've been working with the traffic center and the project manager on the arena, and we've been working to set some selection dates. I have dates, I don't have times yet, but those will be April 19th and 21st.
What's on the 3 p.m.?
So those are the arena selection meetings.
It's like the user group meeting.
No, the selection panel meetings. Yes, so
What
when
was
they pick the art, yes. What?
How is that?
So the user group is put together by the manager's office and the SPOS department. The selection panels are, you know, they're open to anyone. They're public meetings and we can invite whoever we want to invite and anyone can sign up. We have a sign up, so.
The user group is like for the entire project?
Yeah.
The selection group is just for the art?
Yes.
What were the dates again, Tatiana?
So that's April 19th and 21st. So those are just the dates. I don't have the times. One of those days we'll have 2 meetings because there's going to be 3 different meetings because there's 3 different sites. So that's going to be round 1 because remember, these are RFQs. So in these selection meetings, we're going to pick 3 finalists for each site. So each site will have 3 finalists. They get another 4 weeks to put their proposal together and they're paid. Remember, we discussed the funds last meeting. And then, you know, they have a month to put their proposals together, come back to the selection panels, and they review just the finalists and score and select one for each site. So with the, you know, arena group, I know Ezra was in that group and Victoria was in that group as well. But because there's 3 different meetings, we like to have 2 ACAC members for each one. So if more of you want to participate, I know Jan had reached out and said she wanted to, please let me know. Or if you know anyone who would want to participate, you know, we have 3 different meetings and I want to have at least 12 or so people for each one.
Be any member of the public?
Residents, business owners, but yes, anyone can participate and these are open, you know, they're public meetings. They get put on the calendar. So if you would like to participate and you're available those days, and again, I don't have the time set just yet, but I hopefully will by the next week or so. And I will send everyone an update and let you know exactly when those are, and you could sign up for which one you want to do, or if you have a certain site that you're interested in over another one.
And this is going to be about the most exciting public art project we've got going on in our town
Try not to be
for.
dramatic, but
This
big.
is the big one.
It's very
These are
big.
going to be big ones. So all of you who are in this room, you're all invited to contact Tatiana, sign up, and be a part of a really fun project. Yeah, really fun. All right, I had to put that in there.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Helen. So yeah, so those will be, like I said, April 19th and 21st, and then the follow-up will be, you know, late May. So ideally, you know, we want the same groups to come back together to review the finalists, but it's a much shorter meeting because you're only looking at the 3 finalists, so. Do you have a question? Okay. The other thing is Poet Laureate. April is Poetry Month. I know our next meeting is April 10th, but we have a few things happening earlier in the month and throughout the month. So the first thing is that our Poet Laureate will be opening up American Mission meeting. And that is, what's that American Mission meeting? I think the 7th, 4th. There we go.
April,
That's the, yes.
April 4th?
Mm-hmm. And of course, the Mayor Commission meetings are live streamed too, so you'll be able to watch that from home, or if you want to go down to City Hall and see it live, you can do that as well. The other thing, we're doing something new this year with the help of JP LeMay, who's our Leisure Services Project Manager, and he also used to be the phone programmer for IT. So he knows all about our phone system.
And anywhere you call, you get his.
You hear him, yeah. So anytime you hear a recording, it's his voice. But we're gonna put together a dial-a-poem. So you can call up a number and listen to the Poet Laureate read a poem. There'll be a menu. You can select which one you know, you want to hear this poem, press 1. You want to hear this one, press 2, and it will be in his voice. You can put it on speaker and play it for all your friends. So that will be one thing that we're doing.
Podcast is next.
Okay, so don't get ahead of me, Helen. The other thing coming up with the lantern parade, and Stephanie's probably gonna talk a little bit about the lantern parade at the end, but we're gonna do a poetry tent, where we'll have some projections of his poems on the side of a tent, and it'll, you know, we're still putting the logistics together on that, but it will be a physical installation that kind of encourages reading and engaging with poetry. So that'll be fun. He's going to be doing another reading at the library. I don't have a date and time on that yet, but the other thing is he's going to be doing a reading on the 29th. That's April 29th in Boulevard Woods Park. That's the little pocket park on Barber Street. And that'll be at 2 p.m. And he's going to have some other poets as well. So it'll just be a very kind of informal reading in the park. Bring your kids and your dogs and, you know, anything you bring to the park. Follow the rules of the park. No naughty things.
Pocket park at
That's the little pocket park up Barber Street.
Barber and Boulevard.
Yes.
And when does this term come to an end?
August.
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 So will there be another process, another round of,
Yes.
and
Yes.
has the process been decided?
Not yet, but we're talking about the committee too, because I think it maybe should have its own separate committee, kind of like the Athens Music Walk of Fame committee, and have folks from the literary community, because remember, the ACAC can't create committees.
Of non-ACAC
Yes,
members.
thank you. So that's something we're still figuring out, but that will be coming soon as well, with his term coming to an end. So that is it, I think, for projects, updates, and poet laureate updates.
Awesome. Great. Lots of fun things coming up. And then you have, we have our new member call out.
Yeah, so the new member call closed yesterday, last night. We have 11 applicants.
Whoa.
So I guess you need to figure out the committee of you all that are going to be doing the interviews and when you want to do interviews and all of that stuff. So Helen is, of course, cycling off, so she's like, I don't know.
This is your last meeting, right?
This is my last meeting. Yes.
Thank you for everything.
weird.
When did you
Very
join
weird.
you've been involved since the beginning, right? Like since 2011 or 20?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no,
okay.
no, 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 no. I joined, this is, I think, my 6th year.
Okay.
Yeah. 3-year terms.
Thank you for everything you've done.
Yeah, it's been great. I've just had I'm sad to be leaving, but I won't be far away and I'll be available.
Yes, she will.
Well, what I would really like to do is continue with the website.
Yes.
I would
think we
really
should.
like to continue
you should.
shepherding that through.
Yeah.
So,
So
as a citizen
Yeah,
volunteer.
does that need to be a form? I was gonna
As a
ask if that needs to be an
Ex officio, there you go.
Just you now,
Mhm.
and so we can have Helen, so that would allow you to continue to be involved in the website.
Yeah.
And then we still do have those 2 extra spots, because we can have up to 4 for bylaws, for ex officio, so when we go into the, interviews, we can keep that in mind. Which I would love to volunteer to be on that committee. Victoria, too, isn't it?
Okay.
And I'll do
Victoria,
I've been the last, I did the last.
Jan, maybe one more person? Usually do four people?
my thumb is on the table.
What did you say?
All right, Montu's gonna, oh, Ezra, okay. Off the hook? Okay. Ezra.
There's 4.
And so I already put those, all of the application documents in our Google Drive, and what I'll do is I'll just share that with the four of you so you can review them and decide when you want to schedule interviews, and I can help you reach out to the folks.
And now that Donna,
So you'll be looking for four.
four full-time.
Voting
Yes,
members
four
and-
voting
That's
members.
to, okay.
Mhm.
With 8 candidates, is there a screening process or do we interview all, or 11 candidates you said? Do we
Yeah.
interview all 11 or is there a screening process that we would narrow it down?
That's a good question.
11 interviews is.
In
a
the
lot.
past, we've interviewed everyone.
Except if they're outside of Athens-Clarke, sometimes people apply and they're
Right,
not.
if they're
attached to
eligible, if
Yeah.
they're eligible, but if you don't necessarily have to interview all of them. You can look
Or
at
I
them
mean, I
and
guess
say.
maybe the other question is, do all 4 have to be on all 11? I mean, I'm just trying to think of a time. I mean, I can't fathom 11 interviews
Well, maybe,
with
maybe that.
four coordinating all that.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, Montu was like kind of on the fence, so then Ezra.
do it.
You want to do it too? Okay, all right.
You could
So
look at the
final-
application.
3 of the 5 that should kind of short form.
What if I don't want to do it? Do I still get to do it?
You still.
You can, you know what, you get to.
I'm just
do-
wondering if we would conquer and divide it, would be with 11 candidates.
Well, what about looking at all of the applications and just doing a read
And
through,
just like
ranking
prepared
them?
questions and keep it to like 10 minutes and just.
And
line
Victoria,
that up.
I don't want to meet prior to and just kind of go over.
I think the tricky thing is, it's just it's timing. It's just getting 4 or 5 of us plus, but we don't figure that out today.
Yeah.
We'll look at them and.
What we've typically done is like have a window on like 2 or 3 different days. And then almost like do a doodle poll type of thing, say like you can sign up so that we're only available for like maybe an hour on one day. And then we can spread it out and that's more manageable and more flexible for the perspective. But yeah, could you read that through an email or I can talk?
Mhm. You'll share the doc, it's already in there. If I go in there, you have to share it or.
I set up the folder, but I don't think I shared it with anybody. It's just in the Cultural Affairs Google Drive, unshared, but it can be shared.
Okay.
So I'll share that with the 5 of you. You can look through the materials, decide, if you want to interview people, if there's some people that are just like, I don't think so. And then you don't have to interview them. There's no, set rules. And as far as the questions, I can share, the questionnaire that we've used in the past, but you can update it to, make it shorter, make it longer, maybe, have it just 3 questions, whatever you want to do.
And the start date for them would technically be.
Would be the April meeting. They could come to the April meeting, but the mayor and commission approval usually takes a little longer. Sometimes it takes a couple agenda cycles for them to
Basically,
get.
probably guess they can't participate in the voting until they're. And are there any rules around like, is that also technically like considered a public meeting, to be noticed, or can that be on Zoom?
No, because it's like personnel. So, and because ACAC selects its own members, some BACs, they make a recommendation to them, like, y'all make a recommendation to the mayor and commission to approve. Some of the other BACs, the applications go directly to the mayor and commission, so the members don't evaluate them at all. So you do have that.
And we can be on
That
Zoom.
option. Yes, if you're under quorum, which 5 of you is, so, yes.
Does
5
that
of
go
you.
through the outreach committee type of thing too, if we're under the full form?
I think so.
Our quorum is smaller. We are 8 now.
That's true.
So 5 would be more.
I mean, we are 8 total, so the quorum is half plus 1, so that'd be 5.
Yeah, you're right.
But I'm not.
You're not.
That's right. Jan's not a voting member, so that works. There you go. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. That's just the 4 of you. There you go. Okay. So I will send all that to you all and discuss.
Okay, thank you. Any announcements?
I can talk about the Flight of the Fireflies Lantern
Please.
Parade.
Please do.
Yes.
Flyer. Well, this is one flyer, but then you can see the logo. So, this is a leisure services, event for the Athens community. It is a lantern parade in Dudley Park, which is ironically not actually going to be quite finished for the parade now, but that's okay. We're still having our lantern parade. So Dudley Park is where we'll have the lantern parade. We'll start to gather in the center of the park around 8 p.m. There are multiple ways that you can kind of enter into Dudley Park. And we have a website with a great map, and we're gonna color code those pathways that night. So if you come in on the pink trail, then you will see a nice friendly staff person standing out on the street. And they will have a pink, what do you call it, glow stick, and the whole trail will have pink glow sticks. And when you get into the park, there'll be another friendly person that's like wearing a pink glow stick. So they'll have puppets and music, and we'll have the poetry tent, and just like some interesting lighted sculptures that will be in the park. And so people are encouraged to bring a lantern that they just buy a paper lantern from, you can just buy them online, or you can make one, and we'll just bring a flashlight, whatever it takes. So we're just inviting anyone who wants to join us. It's free and open to the public. And so right around 8-ish, after everyone sort of, we reach kind of the top of there's a website you can link to from this QR code. We will do a small loop within the park all together in unison, with our puppets and our musicians and just like everyone going all together, like all of us arriving from all these different points in Dudley Park, but coming together and all moving together through the park. So it's just the first time we've ever done it, and we're really hoping a lot of people show up for it. It's really about learning how to do a lantern parade together as a community. And if people like it and it's well received, then we could talk about doing it year.
On the Firefly Trail.
It's on the Firefly Trail, and it's where Greenway and Firefly Trail meet, and the park has two, amazing works of public art in it, right? Local artists, Rick Hertzog's Flowers, and then
The Trail Blossom
Yep.
and Krisha's,
Heron
Heron Side.
Sighting mosaic on the side of the new building. So that's a brand new building with like brand new restrooms and picnic area and like beautiful landscaping. Like it's gorgeous. And this is a project I've wanted to do since I started here 4 years ago. And I'm really excited that the park is pretty much ready, and we are too, right? To have a beautiful, like really beautiful night. And the topography of that park is like, it's quite hilly, and there's layers down to the creek and the river. So when you're gonna be there that night holding your lantern, you're gonna look around. When you look around, you'll see all these beautiful lights, and then you'll also be one of those lights, making that park beautiful for everyone who's there with you. So I'm really excited about it. We are not able to do a drone, and the reason why is because it's not only just in the flight path, there are major power lines that go right over the top of that park. So we don't have drones, or they're not authorized to be there for the park that night. So we will have plenty of photography and other works to document it. But really, it's more than documentation. It's about being present together, each with our own little light. So please spread the word and join us in Dudley Park Saturday, April 1st.
Are there workshops? More, nope, no more workshops for
We already
lantern, sorry.
We have had some workshops for young people here at the Linden House, and also all of our after school, all the leisure services, we run after school programs at a lot of the community centers. And so all of the community center after school kids will get a lantern kit, and they will be making lanterns after school in the week leading up to Lantern Parade. So like we've been taking them around to the kids to some of our other spaces with the leisure services as a way to make it, for everybody to join. And like the lanterns are very simple. You just a light, paper lantern, and off you go into Dudley Park. So
Love it.
Yeah, please join us.
So awesome. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Wonderful. Anybody else? Well, meeting is adjourned.
You guys got it.